January 25th, 2022, beautiful city of New Orleans. My name is Jong-Woo Han. I am the president of Korean War Legacy Foundation. And it's my great honor to meet you, sir, and thank you for sharing your story with us today. Please introduce yourself. What is your name?
My name is Donald Lassere. I go by Don, and I appreciate you coming to get the story.
What is your birthday, sir?
November the 17th, 1931.
So you are 90-year-old too? 90-year-old.
90, yeah.
Yeah. You look great, sir. Huh?
I feel good most of the time.
Uh-huh. Very nice. And where were you born?
Right here in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Born at home.
And
Most of us at that time, in the 30s, time of the Depression, we were born at home. We had a midwife that handled most of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what a midwife is, but that's...
Yeah, midwife is delivering, helping...
That's just the doctor. As a matter of fact, they do more for the mother-to-be than the doctors do.
Yeah. So tell me about your family, your parents. What did they do, and your siblings at the time?
All right. My father was brothers, and they came from... what was it, Lassere, and they moved to Algiers, which is part of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And he worked as a helper at the shipyard, Thai shipyard.
Shipyard. How about your siblings?
I have a sister who's older than me and a brother who's younger than me.
So you were in the middle?
Right, I'm in the middle. My sister's 93 and my brother's 86, 87. He's about 5 years younger than me.
So what high school did you go through?
I went to Berman High School.
Same as Mert?
Right.
Yeah.
I graduated in 49. And I was delivering papers at that time with the Times-Picayune, and they had a college course. It was just five of us that went there. They taught business, English, salesmanship, and accounting. It was a two-year course in 6 months.
So, did you learn anything about Korea when you were in the school?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Were you able to point where Korea was in the map at the time? At the time?
Never knew anything about Korea. Didn't know nothing about Korea until we got in the Marine Corps, and we were up in Norfolk, Virginia, training. It was in the reserves, training, and we were on a ship making a landing, and all the sailors were talking about, you guys better get your stuff in order because you're going to Korea. What the hell's Korea? Nobody knew where Korea was.
Huh. But you were with Mert together,
right,
in the ship from San Diego to Kobe.
No. That was later. I'm talking about as the reserves. I'm talking about before the Korean War broke out. We were in Norfolk, Virginia on training.
And then when you left for Korea, you were in the same ship?
Yes.
You landed in Kobe and Busan and then Gimpo.
We stopped in Kobe. We pulled an overnight Liberty, and we took our sea bag. We took the necessary things that we needed in the sea bag. We locked our sea bag, and they put it in the warehouse. All we took was the clothes we had on our back.
Were you afraid at the time? Were you scared to go to war?
It was all so new. We didn't know what it was all going to be all about. And I didn't like the idea of going over there because I said, who are these people there? Why are we going over there? Then I realized later on that the main reason we went over there was to try to save the Korean country from becoming communist. We tried to halt the communism, and I'm very proud that we did that.
So you knew each other, you knew Mert from early childhood, right?
Right.
And you were in the same ship, you were in the almost same kind of airplane to be in Gimpo. How did you feel about these things? You could be both of you could be killed.
Right.
But you were there together.
Well, the Marine Corps is different than the Army and all that there. they put relatives close proximity. Now, they wouldn't have put us both in the machine guns, or they wouldn't have put us both in the mortars, or both as riflemen in the same platoon. They put us apart from each other so that if one of us got it, both of us wouldn't get it.
Uh-huh.
And that almost happened one time.
But you were constantly talking with the MIRT?
Yeah, well...
And so you were able to feel like, oh, I'm here with my family.
Almost every day, I would say I'd find out where his mortar platoon was stationed. It was close to the headquarters, and we were on the perimeter. And he'd come see us, or I'd sneak over and see him for, that's if nothing was going on.
So what was your unit at the time?
It was Baker Company,
Oh.
1st Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division.
5th Marine Division or 1st?
5th Marine Regiment.
Regiment.
1st Division.
Yeah. So you were exactly in the same unit.
The same unit.
Baker Company.
Right. He was in the mortars. I was in the machine guns.
Mm-hmm. So you were in the machine gun, and tell me about the battle that you engaged in Korea. Where was it? When was it? How was it?
The first battle that really happened to me, and it probably him too, was when the Marines, I don't know, it was probably in June or July, when the Marines took Hill 905.
Kill
907.
907?
Hill 907.
Is it in the near Punch Bowl?
No, it's south of the Punch Bowl.
South of Punch Bowl.
And that's when we almost got wiped out.
Tell me, detail.
All right, first of all, the attack was supposed to go on early in the morning. You start early as soon as daylight comes there, and you get air support. But for some reason or other, the Army had taken over. Before the Punch Bowl, the Marines had control of their own aircraft.
Uh-huh.
We'd call up the Navy. The Navy would send aircraft, the Corsairs or jets, that give us supporting fire. When the Punch Bowl, we went to take the Hill 907, it was transferred to the Army. And if you needed air support, you had to call the Army, and the Army would give it to you when they could. We were supposed to make the attack early in the morning, but we couldn't get no air support, so the thing was, and then finally we got word about 3 o'clock we're going to take 907. We started up the hill there, and all hell broke loose. We were about a third of the way up the hill, all hell broke loose. The hills, they have ridges, fingers going up there, different ones, and we're getting fire from different places and all. So they pulled my platoon, the platoon, the first platoon, because the Marine Corps has 3 platoons in there. They pulled my platoon out of there and went to the left hill and went up there. And we caught fire, but not as much as he was with the mortars and he stayed with the main body. And they almost got wiped out. And we won other. And then finally we got our ass kicked. We had to pull back. The next morning, I'm trying to think of the name of the company. It was either Charlie Company or something. Went up the hill without, because it was North Koreans. The North Korean people were fighting for their country too.
Yeah.
I mean, they figured all of Korea belonged to them, and they fought to the death. They wouldn't leave, but they had their main supplies up on that hill. Their main headquarters, and they fought so strong because they were protecting their informational thing. And that during the night, after everything was settled down, they pulled out. Another company went up the hill without firing a shot.
And another thing, going up on Hill 907, we knew exactly they were getting weak. North Korea was, Chinese, it was Chinese in there.
No, it's North Koreans. North
Started to
Koreans.
get a little weak because they had, when we took a couple prisoners who were young kids, 12 and 13 years old, and they would cry, you know. And you felt sorry for them because they looked like a little kids, you know. But then we knew exactly then they were starting to whittle down when you started getting little kids in there to start fighting against you.
So you knew that you're going to take that hill.
Exactly right.
Right. So, Don, what did you feel? How did you feel about that battle? Were you scared to death, or?
I was very scared.
Yeah.
When somebody's shooting at you and you hear that zing, that bullet there, you say, thank God it passed over me and not.
So, did you ever think that you could be in one piece again? You could survive? Did you think that you could survive, or are you going to die?
I prayed that I would survive. I didn't want to think about dying.
So after that battle, 905 and 907.
It wasn't 905, it was just 907.
907.
I mispronounced it. It
Yeah.
wasn't 905. It was
So after
907.
that, what other battle did you fight?
Well, when we first got there, just like I think Bert had mentioned that there, when we first got there at the airport, the NG airport, then we went through this town. I don't remember the name of the town. We walked the railroad track and so on and so forth. No sense in going over that because Mike saw that before. But then we had the battle going up to the Punch Bowl. That was, God, well.
Tell me about it.
All right. We went up to Punch Bowl there. We were relieved of the French Foreign Legion. They had up there, so that's where we went up there, and we had to fight our way up there. And
How was it?
well, it's just like any other battle. I mean, you see
anything-
somebody, you shoot at them before they shoot at you. I mean,
Anything you remember now? So you saw in the dream, even still.
Right.
What is it? What bothers you now about that battle now?
well, I don't think about it. I try to keep that from my mind, and you know, the only time we ever talk about it is sometimes him and I get together, and we talk about it very, very little.
Were there any Korean soldier or Korean people serving together with you at the time?
Well, just like they brought supplies to us, and I think they had quite a few of them that stayed with the mortar company was so short of ammo carriers. I think they used some of which was against I think it was against the rules of war, something like that, to use civilians as ammo carriers and all. And I don't know whether you ever remember this the story about this what Reckless the horse they're talking about that they used.
No, tell me about it.
Well, no, this happened later on around the Seoul. It was after the war had just about come to a halt, and it was fighting. We weren't there at that time.
Okay.
And they used the horse. That was bull, because we had horses in there. When we had them in NGs, we rode them and raced them and all. But they took them away from us because it was cruel to the animals to bring them up on the line.
I have pictures of it.
Yeah. So when did you leave Korea?
I left Korea on the latter part of September of 51.
September
I was
5th.
wounded on September the 24th.
Tell me about how you got wounded.
Well, it must have been around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We received our mail. Murph came over from his mortar section. He brought his mail, and we were in my machine gun hole. And the machine gun hole is shaped like a U. You stack your ammo on the left-hand side, and the assistant gunner feeds the gunner, and the guy back there, and then you have a spotter tells you where to shoot. Well, we read each other's mail, and then he left, And I took my 45, and I was getting ready to clean it, and I was on the left-hand side, and I said, oh, I got more room on the other side. So I went over there, opened up my cloth, took the weapon apart. Across the punch bowl, they have a weapon, I think it's a 76 millimeter, where ours is a 75 recoilless rifle. It's a small size, but it's a weapon that they can carry up onto the mountain, and it don't arch like that. It shoots straight across. And they shot, and it hit right into the ammo cans. Thank God that I had moved on the other side, and I just caught. My body was protected by that there. My head was that, and I had the helmet on, and it just caught me right across the back of the neck.
Oh.
It missed my spinal column, maybe about a 1/16 of an inch.
Oh.
In jugular veins and all. Everybody thought I was dead, but they picked me up, and I walked out.
You walked out?
I walked out. I walked out. They wrapped me up. I was like a mummy, all wrapped up and all. Walked to the sick bay with the corpsman, hollering, Merck, Merck, Merck. And finally, I caught him on it. I said, tell my parents I'm all right. Tell them I'm all right.
So what happened to you? Did you go to MASH unit or did you go to Japan?
Well, they had we called it was a bunker on top there, on top of the hill that they used. The corpsman took care of us in there. They didn't even take the bandage that the corpsman put on because they had other people in there that were worse off than me. So they checked my everything was fairly good and all, so they gave me a shot. I went to sleep. But there was one guy in there who was a gunning sergeant. Before I went to sleep there, he was hitting the leg, but our own artillery had a short round. And it exploded, and it hit him in the leg, and it cut one of his main veins. And they said the only way they could stop it was to cut his leg off to get to that vein and shut it off. And he kept on saying, don't take my leg, don't take my leg. And they gave me a shot, and I went to sleep, and I found out the next morning he died.
Oh.
So from that night, I went down to another aid station, and then they stayed one day there, and then they put me on the hospital ship.
Where?
The Haven in Busan.
Busan.
Yeah, they put me on a hospital ship, and I thought I was going to stay there.
Was it American hospital ship or was
It was American hospital ship.
Uh-huh.
It was Haven.
Haven?
Yeah.
And?
And every day before they operated on me, every day the corpsman would go in the shower with me, and they'd take that water, the shower with a lot of pressure, cleaning out that wound. I got all the shots there because on the hill they gave me the shots. When I went to the aid station down below, they gave me the shots. And on the ship, they gave me the shots again. All, to prevent infection, I guess.
Right.
Then from there, I went to Japan. In Japan, I stayed there, spent all my money that I had because I didn't draw no money in Korea.
What were you thinking? Were you regretting that I was there in Korea? The country,
Not really.
Country that I didn't know?
Not really.
Be honest.
I didn't like the idea of going over there, and just like any young boy and all that there. But now that it's all over with, seeing how Son Kim and guys like you appreciate what we did for your country, we appreciate that we did it.
So, have you been back to Korea since then?
No, I had a daughter that went back there.
Tell me what your daughter saw there.
It was my oldest daughter. She's gone now. She got killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But she was as a young kid. She'd get there and she was fast and quick, and she'd wrestle with us, and I couldn't hold her down because she'd wiggle like a worm. And she went into karate, and she had the black belt here, and she was the best in this area here. So she went in competition, and she won the top award, but she won some award in Seoul.
So must be taekwondo, not karate. Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. That's what your daughter did. That's the martial art of Korean original, okay?
Right.
And what did she say to you about Korea that you fought for 70 years ago? What did she say about Korea?
She was saying how beautiful the Seoul was. That's the only part that she saw Seoul.
Give me the detail. What did she say about Seoul?
Well, she said she couldn't believe how the buildings were structured and all that there, and they were more modern, like the city of New Orleans. The buildings are all old-fashioned. I mean, you don't have nothing modern, but over there they have a lot of glass, and it was beautiful. She said.
Much bigger than New Orleans, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. When you were there, were you able to see Seoul?
No.
No.
You know, I got wounded September the 24th of 1951. I was on the punch. We was on the punch bowl there.
So Korea is now 10th biggest economy in the world. It's a territory. South Korea is a little bit bigger than Indiana, much smaller than Louisiana, right?
Right.
And they don't have anything like oil or natural resources. Everything is in the North Korea. And you know that Korea was completely destroyed, right, at the time.
You're right.
Now it's the 10th biggest economy in the world. What do you think about that?
It's a wonderful, the ingenuity these people have.
But you were there to fight for Korean people so that they got this chance to rebuild their nation,
Right.
right?
Right.
So isn't this a lovely story, beautiful story to tell our young generation, right? Why we don't teach about that in the classroom? Why? Why is it forgotten, Wong? Why?
I don't know.
Why is it not the big story in our history classroom? But it's just one paragraph.
Right.
There are so much pages about the Vietnam War and World War II. Obviously, World War II is one of the victorious war for United States, but still, Korean War is one of the biggest, most important war in the history of the United States after World War II. But we skip, right? As Mert said,
We lost more people were wounded and killed in Korea in the short time compared to Vietnam.
yes, absolutely.
And compared to World War II with Japan and Germany.
Yep.
I think it was 36,000 Americans, troops that got killed, and I don't know how many wounded. That's just Americans.
Yep.
But if you take a ratio, our war only lasted 3 years, but ours lasted something like 10 or 12 years. We had more casualties than they had.
Exactly.
You know, it surprised me when we were over there. Most of the Korean men, I mean, we didn't see the women too much. You know, we see the old guy. We used to call them Papa Son with the black hat, and you see them walking or moving out of the towns. And most of the little villages we saw, the homes, they were like mud houses, mud floor, with grass sides and grass roofs.
Yeah, straw huts.
Yep.
But what impressed me was that, I guess I had a mechanical or engineering mind and all out there, was the way these people were, all the homes that they had there, they had tunnels under the house. It came in, it went there, and on the north side is where they built their fire.
Yep.
And the heat would go under the house and come up there. And it just surprised me how wonderful that was. I mean, engineering that they were at that time.
Yeah, it's better than air heating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't dry up, okay?
Right. And
But anyway.
the biggest city we saw was Inji.
Uh-huh.
That
How was
was a
it?
big city there. And they still had some of the place. It was kind of torn up there. But I remember.
Oh, okay. So
I remember one time there when we were in Inji, we went up on a hill as an outpost, as protection because in Inji they had the artillery and all was there, and
yeah.
this hill, it wasn't very big. If it was 500 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
On top up there, it was big. And they had a trench completely around it, and they had bunkers were built by the North Koreans. And they had a lot of ammo up there. And we had a ball up there. We found the ammo, and for some reason, a bunch of stupid-ass Marines, we pulled the pins off these mortars and threw them off the side of the hill and watched them explode. And I don't know where this book came from. It was a Life magazine, and they had a book with somebody with big eyes. And one of these, I guess he was ruthless or whatever you want to say, found a body that was just covered. You know, it was a China. We called them gooks. I'm sorry about that, but we called them gooks at that time. They found the grave and they kicked the head off there and they boiled the head and they put eyes in it and they put a candle in it. At night it was eerie. It scared because down below they were having some sort of celebration with the gongs and they were beating the gongs and all. It was just, we thought that we were being attacked up there.
So you were in the Inje, which was the northeast of Seoul. So I need to correct when I mentioned that it was Imjin River when I did interview of Mert. Okay, so it was Inje.
Inje River.
Yeah, Inje. Not Inje River, but it's a city, right? Inje.
Yeah. I remember I made corporal in the PFC went over. Made corporal in June while we were in Inji. They gave all the NCOs air mats, make it look comfortable. You know, first time we went up the river, just in our skivvies, we took our clothes off, just went up the river and we made a flotation coming down. And we watching how the Koreans, well, let me just stop a little bit there. The United States took and they put a lot of rocks into the river to make it shallow for crossings for the tanks and trucks and all. But anyway, we were watching how the Koreans would get on those rocks and they watch the fish and they throw hand grenades and kill that fish. And they had several times there. I never did go, but I know some of the Marines went there because the Korean Army had their ladies that went with them, the ladies of the night or whatever that they were. And some of the Marines went up there and said, "Well, we're going to go." And the South Korean Army started shooting out and make them get the hell out of there.
What was your rank at the time?
Corporal.
Corporal. So tell me, what was the most difficult thing during your service there in Korea, other than being wounded?
Well, you know, you had to feel sorry for a lot of these people. You see, like I'm saying, you see the Papa son and the Mama son and all that there. They riding on a two-wheel wagon with the kids pulling it. No animals. They didn't have any animals. They had and loaded down with stuff. They were moving south, and all being displaced. Because when we got over there, we moved up there, and that's when the Chinese came in, and it was the summer offensive. That's when we caught hell. And after the summer offensive, then they went into the mop-up war. It was to try to catch all the infiltrators that were behind the lines. In other words, they tried to come in and they would do sabotage. And they sent out patrols to to catch to wipe them out.
What would you say to American history teacher who has to talk about the Korean War, the war that you fought for? What would you say to our own history teacher about the war that you fought for?
I would tell her that the war that we went there was to save a small nation, to help retard. We couldn't stop it completely, but we retard or slow down the infiltration of communism. Because communism, you're just a subject. In other words, somebody tells you what to do, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when to do this.
Okay. So, Don, I want to thank you again for your honorable service and fight for the Korean nation. That's why South Korea is what it is right now, the strongest nation in East Asia in terms of its economy, in terms of the short period of time that they developed from ashes to the 10th largest economy in the world and strong democracy. It's not possible if you didn't fight for that nation. So I want to thank you again. But at the same time, this is very rare cases. I run into several cases where the brothers were the same in the war, but you are the cousin. So I want to capture both of your sort of ideas about the war and the relationship. So who is Don here? Who's Mert? How are you related to each other?
We're cousins.
You are the cousin.
His father and my father were brothers.
So you knew each other from very early childhood, right?
Yeah, right.
Who is older here?
That's the old man there.
How old?
6 months older than him.
Just 6 months. So you are the boss.
I'm the boss.
So how is it like to be in the same ship, almost same in flight, and also in the same place in Korea, together as a cousin? How is it like? Did you like, Mert, be honest, did you like that Don was there for you?
Yes. And like I'm saying, we were brought up together. We were like brothers because we did everything together. And it was coming for me because I'd find out what was going on at home where I couldn't find out. And he did the same thing with me. So that's, we swapped up. But I was glad he was there. To tell you the truth, I hope he was glad I was there. Yes, anyhow.
Don, what kind of soldier was he? Do you remember anything?
Who, Mert?
Yeah.
I think he was very good. I mean, it didn't take him long to become the gunner. To like a machine gun is a lot different than the mortar section. A machine gun, you just point it and shoot. A mortar, you have to know how much increments you have to put leave on the thing for the distance you have to go and so on and so forth. You have to know a lot of geometry type deals to windage and so on to direct where you want to drop your mortar.
So Mert, when Don was wounded and almost died, what were you thinking?
The first thing I was thought about is, I hope he wasn't wounded too bad, because when I saw him, he started howling. He knew about where I was, but he didn't know exactly where I was, and he started howling, Mert, Mert. I said, who the hell is that? And all of a sudden, I seen him come with bandages all over, walking down with the corpsman. I said, you all right? The corpsman shook his head. Yeah, he's fine. But I didn't recognize it. He had bandages all over, you know. But other than that, I said, well, I just hope he makes it. Cause, and when I seen him walking, so I felt better there.
Did you cry?
Huh?
Did you cry?
Well, I don't know about crying, but I kind of had tears a little bit, you know, because I didn't know exactly how bad he was hurt, you know, because I know, you know.
So now you are sitting together in New Orleans as cousin and telling us stories like you are dreaming. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like real.
It's like a big dream is right, you know?
I just hope that what you are doing helps your country teach the kids all about what Not because we did it, but teach the kids about how this country loves your country.
Right.
See, every year, like for Veterans Day, they try to get people from, well, there ain't too many left over from World War II, but Vietnam and the Korean veterans are starting to get up into 90-year-old and up above, and they go to schools and give a little talk, but the first thing the kids, they don't know, did you kill anybody, did you do this and do that? You don't talk about that, you know what I mean? You try to forget, but you don't forget, you know?
Right.
And I can't go, and he never went to go to the schools and talk to the kids because they don't know any better, you know? And
So that's the Tell America story that you were doing, but you cannot do it continuously. So that's why we are doing this, preserving your memory and making it as a curricular resources for teachers so that they can use this interview for Korean War when they talk about the Cold War in the classroom. Okay?
right.
So, Don, what would you say to your cousin right now here that you are still alive, you are in the same place? What would you say to him?
Well, he's closer to me than my own brother, and he knows it.
We grew up together every day. We eyed to a duck, you know, just back the other one another.
Wow, this is great. This is great that I was able to capture two of you at the same time in the punch bowl and the battle. What was it? Hill number 527?
905.
905. 907.
907.
Wow, you were in the same hill, and Don was wounded, and you were.
No, I wasn't wounded on that now. I was wounded in Korea on punch bowl.
Exactly, in the punch bowl, and Mert saw that. But
Yeah.
you are still in one piece together, and you're talking about the Korean War, like telling us the dream, you know. So amazing. Any other message you want to say to me or to future generation about the war?
Oh, I'm very proud to have gone over there and helped save your country.
Thank you. You are very nice man. Mart?
No. It's about the same thing, really.
Brothers, cousins, thank you so much. This is one of the most memorable moments that I have been run into, and thank you so much again for your fight. And stay healthy, okay?
We thank you very much for interviewing us, and hope it helps your country and your young children out.